Well, despite its proven role in reducing emissions, as I was saying before, nuclear generation is a major sector in the crosshairs of activists. The latest CSIRO annual report still has nuclear as the most expensive form of renewable energy, while solar and wind are apparently the cheapest. Joining us now is Nationals MP David Gillespie. David, Bowen has consistently used these numbers out of the CSIRO, which we see again today, to justify this $387 billion price tag that he's put on nuclear. I mean, are the numbers legit?
No, look, the Gen Cost is a flawed report. I know a lot of work's gone into it, but they are missing the wood for the trees. They've got very poor information on current established nuclear builders' costs of what they estimate these new plants would cost, like GE Hitachi, their 300 megawatt one, or Westinghouse's small modular reactor. They hang it all on the cost of a NuScale plant, which is the only one they've looked up, which, as you know, is a very big SMR. It's really hard to use that as a good cost comparator. And they fail to acknowledge or explain to people well enough that the levelised cost of energy is a very poor metric, because what you want is the whole system cost. And with Chris Bowen's plan, what you are getting is multiple variable renewable energy producers in a chaotic random system, pumping either lots or very little of direct current into the system. And that makes it very unstable. It makes it very expensive. The prices go up and down. They've had to lift the top limit of what can be bid from about $16,000 over $20,000. And that's because sometimes they're desperately short, and then at other times they've got too much. And when you have a system like that, they don't account for all the costs, like the $62.5 billion black hole that David Carlin, the very respected energy economist, has identified, let alone what many other trained and highly experienced electrical and grid engineers have written to AEMO, pointing all these flaws out, and they just get rebuffed.
But this is why they have to keep
peddling this. So they're just doubling down on...
Yeah, and this is why they have to keep peddling the line, renewables are cheaper, because the AEMO has gone full-blown into it, right? Like, their aim is 100% renewables in the grid. So if they don't justify that in some way, the whole thing falls over.
Yeah, but look, they had briefings yesterday in a webinar, and basically they're just doubling down on all the issues that were brought up about the $62.5 billion black hole. What causes that is still there. And they're not accounting for about a third of the costs, which all occur behind the meter in your home, on your roof. All those costs, they don't account for it. But basically, in their virtual giant battery, they're going to be counting on all your batteries, but they don't put those costs in, which is at least a third. And as I said, the LCOE, the levelised cost of energy, doesn't give you a system cost. You've got to add to that the cost of transmission, the cost of poles and wires, the distribution. When you have VRE or renewables, you don't get any physical inertia to the current. You just get a synthesised DC turned into alternating current, but it has no frequency control. It's all, or inertia, or any physical inertia, keeping it all stable. So now we've got a very unbalanced grid with next to no reserve capacity. So when the air conditioners and the hot days or very bad weather crank up, we are scrambling to get enough electrons into the grid. Yet the next day you might have excesses. It's a very unbalanced system, and that's the beauty. You know, Finland spent billions of euros getting their new 1,600 megawatt nuclear reactor up and running, but it was worth it. Their electricity prices are now very stable, and the retail prices have dropped by 75% because they have this huge load of cheap, reliable energy. Once they're cranked up and running, it delivers very reliable, 24/7, 365 days of the year, clean energy. And it's ridiculous that they are pumping the price up in this document for nuclear where they could get much better and more accurate lower prices from experienced makers of, dozens of plants around the world. They've all got prices. It's sort of like, Volvo or Ford, if they're planning a new model car, they know exactly what they've got to build it for.
Of course.
And yet they cherry pick one startup company that has actually lost a contract to build one as the gold standard. And this fairyland integrated system plan is just concentrated hope. They also said it all assumes that all the states build all these mystical, highly expensive grids that are going to crisscross at least 10,000 and possibly 28,000 kilometres.
Which is just
wind
insane.
farms at sea are going to miraculously appear.
Talking about are literally insane. And here we are talking about the fact that, on a hot day in New South Wales, you've got to turn the thermostat up on your air conditioner because we don't have enough power running around. Just mad. David Gillespie, thank you for your time.